Today, we're talking about masks. And I've been getting a lot of questions and concerns about masks all of a sudden because our local school district just released their plans for fall, and masks are a big part of it. And so that has brought up a lot of questions. And I have to show you, at work, we wear masks all the time. At home, obviously, we don't wear masks. This is just a prop. And then I will show you my other mask, which I use on a regular basis when I'm doing telemedicine visits. And kids always get a kick out of it. We kind of make a joke at the visits like, oh, got to put my mask on, even though this is a telemedicine visit. So then I, reach over, grab my mask, put it on, and do one of those. And the kids all love it. Gets a great response. Or they're like really freaked out by it. Either way, it's really enjoyable for me. Our local school district put out their plans for the fall. This has been a work in progress. I mean, it's been a lot to get to the point where we feel like, okay, we're getting ready for fall, and what does that look like? And how do we scale what we're doing in homes and in offices and in daycares to the size of a school district? This is 42,000 students. So we have to have a big plan that works across the board in order for it to be feasible. And I actually think that the plan is really good. And, there's no perfect plan. There's no way to make every kid happy. There's no way to make every parent happy for sure. But I think that this is a really good strategy that they've put in place. I'll put a link to the actual Lincoln Public Schools plans in the links so that you can take a look. But basically it relies upon our local Lancaster County Health Department dial of severity, disease severity in the community as the determining factor of what things are going to look like. And I think that's a really good approach. It helps to standardize things. So objectively, this is what we're doing right now because this is what's going on in the community, rather than we get the feeling that this is what we should be doing, or we're seeing a lot in the news and I feel like things are getting a little worse. Let's change the game plan. Or we had a local outbreak in a school. Let's throw out the playbook and do something totally different. Well, instead, this is based on some objective data that we can say, right now we're in yellow, this is what we should be doing. Right now we're in red, this is what we should be doing. So it kind of gives some objectivity to something that is very difficult to pin down exactly what's right. And a lot of parents are talking about it, and I've been talking on my Instagram stories about it since it came out, because it feels like it's really soon all of a sudden. And I think it feels that way because right now it feels like about August 87th, rather than like the middle of June, which is what it is. And so there's actually a lot of time still. But what this will do is it allow kids to go back to school, which I think everybody recognizes is important. Not only for learning, not only for social connections, but for a lot of kids. A lot of the conversations that we've been having lately, and to be honest with you, have been very luxury discussions of going to the pool and going to such and such places. Is it okay to see grandparents? Is it okay to fly? Those sort of discussions. For a lot of families are luxury discussions that they will never have because they're trying to make ends meet. School is the way that they make sure that their children get fed. School for other families is the place that they feel safe for kids because they don't feel physically or emotionally safe at home. And so having those people at school is really important for their physical and mental health and well-being and growth. And so I think we have to keep that in mind as we get into the really nitty-gritty of this discussion. Is there's a lot of people that don't have the choice or don't have the ability to say, well, this really isn't working for me, or I don't love this, can it be easier on kids? Well, what we're trying to do is take everyone in a whole school system, 42,000 people, 42,000 kids with lots of different backgrounds, lots of different abilities and needs and talents, and medical conditions and all those sorts of things, and make something that works for a whole group. And obviously there's individual variations that are going to have to be taken into account. There's going to have to be flexibility. There's going to have to be some grace given that people are doing the best they can. But in the big picture of things, like wearing masks in school is a very luxury sort of discussion to have, that, okay, can we bring our own mask? What's the deal with all of these very specific nitty-gritty topics? A lot of parents and a lot of families and a lot of kids just need to be in school for their own health and well-being. And a lot of the discussions that we're having can kind of then feel like, okay, this is luxury. I'm almost feeling a little bit guilty that we're having some of these discussions because things are a lot harder for a lot of families that I don't know, but that are in the community. And so I'm going to make do. I'm going to do these hard things because I know that it's best for everybody, not just for my kid, not just for my family, not just for my school, but for the whole community. And we're going to have to look at those sort of things as we weigh all these risks and benefits and everything that we go through. So I wanted to talk about masks. There have been a lot of stories in the past couple of weeks about masks, and there's been some disappointing things. Going to different stores and stuff in town is often kind of disappointing to see the presence or absence of masks, and sometimes even the way that you're made to feel if you're wearing a mask. I'm sure that people feel bad or shamed at times when they are wearing masks or they're not wearing masks and other people are giving them looks. But I think what we know from the science is that masks are important. And yes, there were old stories that can be dug up about Dr. Anthony Fauci saying that masks aren't helpful. Well, that was way back when we first started this, and we didn't have enough masks to go around. Now we have a lot more masks, and people should be masking, and Dr. Fauci has even come out and said masks are pivotal, and everybody, all the physicians, and not just physicians, but schools and churches and everybody saying that masks are important because they are, and they help to limit the spread. There is science, good science, that shows that masks help to prevent the spread of coronavirus. And if we want to talk about reopening schools, reopening businesses, returning to some sense of normal, masks and physical distancing and contact tracing are going to be the three things that allow us to do this. There was even a thing recently, I won't get into the politics of what the governor said, basically about giving grant money to offices that say that masks are required and not doing that, which I think is ludicrous and absurd because it doesn't support the notion that masks are very important. But I won't get into that. You already know where I stand about masks. And I've been posting a lot of studies on my Facebook page about masks because masks work. Masks are important. I think a lot of parents, and that's what I've been hearing in my Instagram stories a lot, is a lot of parents are worried about their kid and masks. And I will tell you, we've been having kids wear masks and I feel like now that I'm saying masks like a million times that I'm really like adding an extra syllable. So I'll try and just say masks and not masks. We've been having kids wear masks in the office, dang it. Now I can't stop thinking about it. 4 months. And parents, 4 months. And every time I go into the room with anybody that's wearing one, I say, isn't this silly? Isn't this kind of funny to wear masks? But does it help? Does it do anything? Does it hurt? How does it feel? Kids are like, yeah, whatever. I don't care. I don't mind wearing a mask. It's kind of funny. It feels silly. And yes, it's goofy, but it's not a big deal. I think that's in part because we see everybody else doing it. It's also in part because of the fact that kids realize, okay, my parents are wearing masks and they're not complaining and they're not wearing masks because of that. Masks must be important, and I see everyone else here wearing masks and we're trying to keep healthy and wear them. So I'm okay with that. I think what we know is that kids respond to the way that adults respond. So if kids hear you talking about how terrible it is that kids will have to wear masks this fall, if kids hear you griping and saying what infringement on my rights it is, or how ridiculous it is, or that it doesn't work, or that it's uncomfortable, or it's tough to breathe, that's what your child is going to take and say, okay, that's how I should feel about masks, and that's how it's going to be. On the flip side, if you say, oh yeah, this is silly, but this isn't a big deal. This is hard. It's not easy, but we do hard things all the time. Look at all the hard things that we as a family, as a community, as a country, as a world have been doing. We can do hard things, and that's okay. If you model the response that you want your child to have to wearing masks, even if you deep down inside don't agree, but you're like, yeah, this is going to be part of the landscape for the next year. I don't know how long it's going to be part of the landscape, but for a while, I'm going to get on board just so that my child doesn't have a terrible experience with it. If you model what you want your child to respond to the idea of wearing masks all the time, then that is how they will respond. And that's what we see in the office with all the kids that are wearing masks and happy and playful and enjoying themselves. They're not all, their personalities are still present to the same degree. You can see how somebody smiles. You can even play games with the mask to get the kids more comfortable with them. What am I doing with my mouth right now? What am I doing? Am I sticking my tongue out at you? What face am I making? Am I happy? Am I sad? Am I angry? Those sorts of things you can do with a mask on to show your child that, okay, it's possible to wear a mask and still have fun and to still breathe and still do all the normal things. Model your response, wear a mask. That doesn't mean you have to wear them around the house, although perhaps like getting a new pair of shoes, if you wear it around the house a little bit and say, hey, isn't this fun? Isn't this funny? Then that will make kids more comfortable. If you drop them off at the bus stop and you're really tentative, or you walk them into school and you're really tentative about it, and you put the mask on and you're like, oh, I hope this goes okay. If that's the first time that they hear that they have to wear masks, they're probably going to have the same reaction that you're having, which is tentative, worried, wait, this isn't what I signed up for. If they get used to seeing masks around town and around the house, and mom does it, and dad does it, and brother and sister do it, and my grandma and grandpa wear masks, that's just part of the normal landscape. It doesn't hurt. It will not have the psychological damage to your child that you're expecting unless you go in with, this sucks, this is terrible, this is going to be a horrible school year, everything's going to go wrong. If you go in with that attitude, even if you don't share that, but that's the kind of the way that you're carrying yourself mentally, then that is the reaction that your child is going to have. So I would really encourage you to wear a mask, to have a positive attitude about it, and realize that things could be a lot worse than they are right now. Nobody in other parts of the world where they're peaking and they're surging is having these debates about if masks are an infringement upon their rights. They're realizing that masks are the key to reopening, and they're the key to keeping people safe. And I understand completely that you don't want to wear a mask, and it's not natural, and it's not how we were raised or how humans have developed, but that's where we're at right now. And we're talking about hundreds of thousands, millions of lives saved by wearing masks when this is all said and done. And we can look at the number of cases that have already been prevented around the country in hotspots and around the world because people have taken masks seriously. And there's a lot of countries that are way ahead of us on coronavirus and on their peak and on their second waves and things like that. And what they have found is that masks are helpful. So I get that it sucks. I get that this is not what you had planned for 2020. Nobody signed up for this for 2020. I can guarantee you that. But masks are really what's going to help. I'm going to create a video that you can share with your kids to talk about masks, because I know it can be hard and it's nice to hear it from somebody else. And so I'm in the process of working on that. I'll hopefully have that for you next week or the week after. I mean, it isn't August 87th. It is still the beginning of, or the middle of June. And so we have lots of time before school goes back and lots of time to talk it through. We don't need to spend every dinner time talking about it right now. I would encourage you to not even talk about it right now much. Just slowly start to get the ball rolling, and in the meantime just enjoy this time as a family, and model for your kids the reaction that you want them to have to the fact that this was not how 2020 was planned, and that will make things okay, and things will go a lot better if you do that. I would love it if you would comment below your thoughts. I would love to hear what you're thinking about masks. I just posted a ton of Instagram stories in the past 2 days all about masks, because I've been hearing a lot about that as kind of the linchpin for everything regarding going back to school since these plans were just released. But I would love to hear your perspective and what you're thinking and what concerns you have. And maybe if you feel like this has been helpful, could you hit the share button and share it so other families can get this information, even ones that aren't local, because I have a feeling that these plans are going to be emulated around the country in a lot of different iterations, and we don't know what the perfect plan is. There is no playbook for returning to school after a coronavirus infection pandemic. So everything that we're doing is going to be reviewed and said, yeah, this worked, no, this didn't work, this was ridiculous, we should have done more of this. But right now, everybody's just trying to do the best they can. So give everyone grace. Try not to judge those that are wearing masks. Try not to judge those that are not wearing masks. But try and be educational and just give grace, because this is a really hard time for everybody. And in the meantime, keep up the good work. And if you need a fun mask, try and find something to make it fun and enjoyable for your kids and family. Have a good day.